Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 2nd June 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about 9 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. Title says give details on scheme for orphan children, says Supreme Court. So this article mainly talking about orphan children. So why we need to talk about this orphan children or abandoned children now? So because of this COVID-19, so parents whoever lost their life, so their children mainly comes under this abandoned children now. So because of increase in deaths because of this second COVID-19, that second wave of this COVID-19 pandemic, so there is rise of this orphan children that is seen. So this article mainly talking about Supreme Court asked center whatever the schemes are mainly taken or which are mainly came up by center to take care of this orphan children. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under polity point of view, and this topic will be exclusively important from mains from not prelims. So now let us see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that Union government informed Supreme Court that modalities of PM CARES scheme to fund education, also welfare of children who are orphaned by the pandemic. So here Union government mainly says Supreme Court that it is mainly coming up with this scheme and under this PM CARE funds, so it will provide some funds for education and as well as welfare of children who are mainly abandoned by this COVID-19 pandemic. If you see some details, it mainly says that Center said it would support education of children and it is going to set up rupees 10 lakh corpus fund for them for their education. And this scheme, under this scheme, COVID-19 impacted children, they will continue education, and it will also some financial help for higher education for those students also. So these are some important details. And if you're talking about some facts regarding this PM CARES scheme, so it is mainly a public charitable with a chairman. Chairman, it is our Prime Minister itself, and other members includes members like Defense Minister, Finance Minister, and as well as Home Minister. And why this fund? So this fund will strengthen disaster management capacities, and as well as it will encourage research, and also it will protect citizens. So this is one important aim of this fund. And which one is this fund will also enable micro donations, as a result of which a large number of people, they will be able to contribute with the very smallest of denominations. So because of this is also it is also receiving micro donations. And if you're talking about this PM CARES, it mainly stands for Prime Minister Citizen Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation Fund, and donations under this fund, they are 100% exempted from income tax. Okay, so these are some important things that you should remember regarding this topic. And now let us see next topic. Title says government not to resume supply of oxygen for industrial use. So what is background? So here, because of this second wave of this coronavirus, there is increase in number of cases. So at that time, we saw more than 4 lakh cases that are recorded within 24 hours. So because of this increase in number of infections, so there is increase in people who are joining or admitting in hospitals. And people, there are many vulnerable people who are having other comorbidities or any asthma or any lung disorders, they need oxygen, okay. But what happened, we are facing lack of oxygen supply. So at that time our government mainly asked this industrial use of this oxygen should be minimized, and this oxygen from this industries, they need to be transported for this medical supplies, okay, medical hospitals or medicine, or we can say hospitals who are in need of this oxygen. So because of this, what happened now, again government mainly gave some permission to not for supply of oxygen for this industrial use now, because now we are seeing decrease in number of cases, right? So today's newspaper says that there are only 1.2 lakh cases that are recorded within 24 hours. So because of this, now we do not have that much demand for oxygen in these hospitals. So because of this, again here now these industries, they can get this oxygen supplies from now. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under governance. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that government has temporarily permitted the resumption of oxygen supply for industrial use by several sectors. Okay, so now government came up with a temporary permission mainly to give some oxygen supply for industrial use. For example, firms mainly producing oxygen cylinders, copper industries, and as well as aluminium, steel exporters, and as well as food processing units. For this type of industries or sectors, they are going to get oxygen. And if you see some details, it mainly says that even for infrastructure projects, for example, micro, small and medium enterprises, they have been allowed to use liquid oxygen. And if you are talking about this article, it mainly says that earlier second wave of this COVID-19 pandemic, which mainly invoked Disaster Management Act. So because of this second wave, now there are number of cases which are increasing. Okay, so what happened because of increase in number of cases? So there is an increase in demand for oxygen in hospitals, but there is no supply of oxygen, right? So because of this, central mainly invoked this Disaster Management Act to limit oxygen supplies for industrial use, and those oxygen supply from industrial use, they need to be transported or they need to be diverted to hospitals. Okay, and to subsequently strengthen the curves by directing all oxygen stocks, they are mainly diverted for medical purposes. Okay, so this is about this topic. And if you see in this article, it also talked that Home Ministry informed Ministry of Commerce and Industry to allow usage of liquid oxygen for specific industries for a temporary period. Okay, and in this context, we also need to focus, or we also need to ensure that there is adequate supply of this oxygen which is given to hospitals, and as well as per demands of center and as well as state, and as well as for medical purposes. And if you see here, Department of Industries and Internal Trade, it also urged Home Ministry to consider resuming of oxygen supplies mainly to some industries like MSMEs, infrastructure projects, exports, food processing units, furnaces, steel and as well as refineries, aluminium, copper processing units. Okay, so in this context, Home Secretary asked this Department of Industries and Internal Trade to ensure that adequate supply of electricity is also available, because whenever we are providing oxygen, whenever they want to resume their manufacturing, they also need supply of proper electricity. So in this context, Home Secretary asked this Department of Industries and Internal Trade to ensure there is adequate supply of oxygen and as well as electricity which is available for defense forces and as well as industries which are mainly preparing ampoules and vials, pharmaceuticals and as well as oxygen cylinders, and PSA oxygen plants and neutral gas tubing. Okay, so in these areas we need to ensure proper oxygen supply and as well as proper electricity supply also. So this is just of this topic. And now let us move on to next article. Title says vaccination rate is key to lifting lockdowns, which is according to ICMR. Okay, Indian Council of Medical Research mainly says that we need to focus on vaccination role, okay, before lifting of these lockdowns. So this article will be important regarding health again, which comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Director General of ICMR, he said that unlocking the country has to be done patiently and it need to be guided by number of vaccinations, okay, especially for vulnerable people who are facing other diseases or who are having any lung problem or who are having any respiratory problem. Okay, so this is about context. And if you see why, because India has just managed mainly to surpass second wave of this coronavirus. Okay, so because of this, if there is any third wave which is appeared, then we can't able to tackle that. So because of this, Director General of ICMR mainly focused on we need to improve vaccination. So now let us see some details here. So here ministry mainly says that there are many open up of areas we are going, that is we are going for unlock phase, right? So here whenever we want to go for unlock, we need to see positivity of cases. That means if you are taking if you are making 100 tests here, how many people they are getting positive, so this is positive rate. So we need to have positive rate which is less than 5% whenever we want to go for unlocked areas. And next one is over 70% of vulnerable people, they should be vaccinated. And if you're talking about here, this article mainly says that India will mainly will mainly go for quickening of this vaccination rate by June and July, August, okay, and they are going to have a target of 1 crore vaccinations per day. And here, if you see here, whenever we are going for this pace of 1 crore vaccination per day, then we can achieve our aim of vaccination drive in India by December. And if you see, this article also talked about one more thing. So Niti Aayog member, he mainly said that government was relooking at COVID-19. In this, children and new facts and emerged about new post-COVID infection here. So in this second wave and as well as first wave, children are not much affected, right? So there are some expectations like in third wave of this coronavirus, children will be most affected and most vulnerable. So because of this, we need to have multi-system inflammatory disorder. Okay, we need to also look after this multi-system inflammatory disorder of children in this context. And next one is Niti Aayog also said that they are going to revise guidelines to manage pediatric COVID-19 complications, and as well as they are going to have infrastructure which will be very much helpful for children who are suffering from this COVID-19. And next one is there is no proposal of single dose. So why we need to go for single dose? Because yesterday's news mainly said that if at all any COVID-19 recovered patient is there, so in that COVID-19 patient, one dose which is working very well, there is no need of taking second dose here. So here Niti Aayog member that we are not going for this proposal of single dose. Okay, and let us see what some facts regarding this ICMR. So what is this ICMR? ICMR mainly stands for Indian Council of Medical Research, and it is apex body in India for formulation, coordination and promotion of biomedical research. And if you are talking about mandate, which mainly the important functions or mandate of this ICMR is to conduct, to coordinate and to implement medical research for benefit of the society at large. And next one is we need to go for translating medical innovations into products and as well as process and introducing them into public health system. Okay, so this is also some important mandate. And if you are talking about this organization, which mainly funded by Government of India through Department of Health Research, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So this is just of this topic. I hope it is clear. Now let us see next topic. Title says NCPCR tracks data on orphans. So this article mainly talking about one important online tracking portal of orphans, that is Bal Swaraj. So this topic is very important regarding prelims point of view, because in prelims you can expect a question like Bal Swaraj, it is recently seen in news, so what it is related to. So in this way you can see some simple questions or framed from this topic. So this topic is very important regarding GS paper 2 under society. So whenever you are writing answers regarding this child, regarding orphans or abandoned child, so whatever data we are going to discuss now, that you can use when you are writing answers. So now let us see context. It mainly says that Bal Swaraj, it is an online tracking portal of National Child Rights Body, which mainly shows data of nearly 10,000 children in country. They are in immediate need of care and also protection. So these children mainly includes from age 0 to 17 years, and they are mainly orphaned or abandoned during this COVID-19 pandemic. So why there is a need of care and protection? Okay, so why that is national body came up with this portal? Because recently here NCPR, which informed Supreme Court that there is high risk of being pushed into trafficking as well as a flesh trade. So because of this, center mainly came up with this type of body here regarding some online portal. So if you see details, it mainly says that these children are mainly abandoned children because of this COVID-19 pandemic. They need immediate care. For example, they need food, shelter and clothes. Now let us talk about NCPCR. So it mainly stands for National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. So this mainly set up in year 2017 in March under Commission for Protection of Child Rights Act. So whenever any body which established under any act, that is called as mainly statutory body. So here NCPCR, it is a statutory body but not a constitutional body, because this mainly established under Commission for Protection of Child Rights Acts of 2005. And this NCPCR mainly works under administrative control of Ministry of Women and Child Development. And if you're talking about mandate, it need to ensure all laws, policies and programs and some administrative mechanisms, they must consonance with child rights. And it is mainly enshrined in our Constitution of India and even United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child. Now let us talk about composition. So it mainly contains chairperson plus other members. So chairperson plus 6 members are present, and out of these 6 members there are at least 2 members should be women. And all of them will be appointed by central government for tenure of 33 years. Okay, for tenure of 3 years. And maximum age to serve in commission is 65 years for chairman and 60 years for other members. Okay, so this is gist of this topic, and now let us move on to next topic. Title says Moody's cuts GDP forecast. So this article mainly talking about a GDP forecast. So if you're talking about this GDP, what is this? GDP means total value of final goods and services within a geographical country within 1 year of time. So if you're talking about GDP estimation methods, we are having 3 methods. First one is income method, second one is expenditure method, and third one is value added method. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail, and I want to give you small homework. Please do some research regarding what is this Moody. This Moody, it is a credit rating agency, okay, credit rating agency. So let me know some facts regarding this Moody in comment box. Don't forget about this. And now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. Context says that Moody's Investor Service cuts a 2021 to 22 India's GDP growth forecast to 9.3 from 13.7. Earlier it came up with estimate of 13.7 and now it decreased to 9.3% because of long-term risk we are facing in our economy because of this second wave of this coronavirus. And next one is there is also a challenge we are facing regarding vaccine rollout. So because of these reasons now here Moody's GDP growth forecast that decreased to 9.3% from 13.7%. And if you see some of the details here, so government ability to limit spread of virus and as well as there is increasing of vaccination rate. So these having some direct impact on our health and as well as economy of the country. So here Moody's says that we need to control spread of virus and we need to increase our vaccination rollout, and this will having direct impact on health of people and as well as economy. And in this context, Moody's also want for more scaring if second wave of coronavirus which causes a permanent loss for unemployment or not. So whenever there is permanent unemployment, it is happening, okay, then we can see business closures will also be seen, and as well as that will having some negative impact on our economy. And let me know about some facts regarding this Moody in comment box. And now let us move on to next article. Title says when 2 is too little. So this article mainly talking about China's child policy. So in yesterday's article, yesterday's lecture, we discussed about one article regarding this China's 3-child policy. It is going to end up 2nd child policy, and it is coming up with this 3-child policy. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under international relations. Context says that 6 years after abandoning one-child policy of China of 1979. So because of China, it is the world's populous country in the world, right? So because of this, in 1979, China came up with one-child policy. So this policy mainly implemented or introduced by CPI government. And later on, in 2015 onwards, and for example, in 2013 onwards, it came up with this relaxation of this one-child policy. And in 2015 it came up with a two-child policy, and now in 2021 it is coming up with some relaxation in this two-child policy, and it want to go towards this three-child policy now. So this is some background. And now let us see context here. 6 years after abandoning this one-child policy of 1979, which came up by the CPI government in China, and now Chinese government came up with this three-child policy. So what are the reasons here? So first one is mainly to improve China's population structure, and as well as to improve to mainly respond to aging population. There is increase in aging population in China. And next one is to preserve country's human resource advantages and to maintain balance here. Okay, because of these reasons Chinese government came up with this three-child policy now. So if you are talking about data, it mainly says that about 12 million births they are recorded in 2020. That means it is a very lowest since 1961. If you are talking about census details, 264 million people are present, who are mainly belonging to more than 60 years of age. Okay, after introduction of this child policy in China, China's fertility rate that fell down from 2.75 in 1979 to 1.69 in 2018. So because of this decrease in this fertility rate, we are also seeing some unintended consequences of this family planning measures in China. So if you are talking about some background, one child policy prevented about 300 million births. So because of this, now China need to go for some urgent needs, or else China mainly grapples with both aging and as well as a gender imbalanced population. Okay, so because of this fear, Chinese came up with this decision. So if you are talking about a two-child policy, in 2013, China allowed couples to have a second child and introduced this two-child policy in year 2015. So if you see regarding this two-child policy, experts mainly says that it did not boost birth rates in China, but because there is also increasing cost for rearing of children that is seen in China. Okay, so because of this increase in cost, the number of first childbirths are also decreasing in China. So in this context, what is need? Need here is Chinese government now it can focus on how to reduce child rearing costs which are borne by prospective parents. And because whenever there is decrease in child population, or whenever there is decrease in work age group of population, that is from 5 years to 15 years to 59 years, then that will lead to have some unintended social economical consequences of that country. So this is just of this topic, and now let us move on to next topic. Title says China's revival. So this article mainly talking about GDP contraction. So in yesterday's lecture we studied that there is GDP contraction that is seen overall for year, about 7.3% of GDP contraction. So because of this article mainly talking about some way forward, what can be done, what steps that can be taken to improve our economic revival. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy, and this topic will be important regarding means point of view. So if you see this article mainly talking about GDP contraction. So recently National Income Estimates, they came up with a report. Okay, so this report mainly released by National Sample Statistical Office. Okay, so National Statistical Office NSO mainly released this report. It mainly said that in last quarter of last financial year, that is from January to March quarter, GDP expanded by 1.6%. In first quarter, there is a contraction of 23.5%. In quarter 2, there was contraction of 7.5%. In quarter 3, positive growth, that is 0.5% recorded. And in quarter 4, it is 1.6% of growth recorded. So if you see overall contraction of that financial year, so it is about 7.3% of contraction that is seen. And if you see earlier projections, it mainly says that Center earlier projected full year GDP to contract by 8%. And if you see, out of 8 broad sectors of our economy, only 2 sectors are having some expansions. And if you are talking about contraction, or worse is seen in sectors like mining and quarrying, about 5.7% of contraction. And worst hit contact intensive services like hotels, trades, transport, communication, broadcasting, that decreased by 2.3%. And if you are talking about agriculture and allied activities, that is only showing some full year growth. Okay, and even PMI, Purchasing Managers Index, also came up with a report. It mainly says that there is weakening of demand in our economy, and there is decreased order and as well as output that is seen, and this output which is 10 months low also. So because of this, now we can do, so what we can do mainly to come up with our economic revival. So we can accelerate our vaccine rollout, and we can go for some direct job and as well as income boosting measures that can be taken by the government for economic revival. So this is just of this topic. And now let us see next topic. Title says a fatal war on transparency. So this article mainly talking about accountability and transparency. So this is direct topic under your static syllabus of governance. And again this topic will be important regarding mains point of view. So I want to give you another homework. So please do some research regarding Right to Information Act of 2005 and let me know some important points regarding this act. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So context mainly says that government came up with this National Expert Group on Vaccine Administration for COVID-19, and it is a nodal agency on matters which are mainly related to vaccine administration and as well as vaccine rollout, right? So this agency mainly asked some questions under this RTI Act. Okay, so here in this context ICMR mainly denied request of questions under this RTI Act. So questions mainly include some questions regarding MOU that signed between ICMR and as well as Bharat Biotech for rollout of vaccine. Okay, so here what happened, whenever information which is denied by this organization, then that leads to war and transparency. If you are talking about some issues here, government mainly continues to withhold information of critical life-saving policies and as well as decisions in this COVID-19 period. And even Drug Controller General of India approved vaccine, that is Covaxin, for emergency use authorization, but till now Bharat Biotech has not published peer-reviewed interim efficacy analysis regarding this Covaxin. And also DCGI mainly denied RTI request about decision to grant emergency approval for these drugs, for this COVID-19 vaccines, that is Covaxin and as well as Covishield. And here DCGI mainly claiming that information about this efficacy and as well as safety, whenever they are revealing, it will constitute some confidential commercial information. So it is mainly some confidential information, so that we cannot share this information regarding this efficacy and safety of these vaccines. And DCGI is also keeping secret regarding decision making of 101% of safe vaccines here. But if you are talking about these vaccines which got emergency use authorization from Drug Controller General of India, so now people are being administering this Covaxin, right? So here there is also signing one declaration, like if they are facing any severe adverse impact here, so compensation will be awarded here. So only when there is a causal link between the death and as well as vaccine taking, then only compensation will be given here. And next important problem we are facing regarding this vaccines rollout. So here we are not reaching our daily target of vaccines rollout because of shortage of vaccines here. So here we have the target of to vaccinate 30 crore Indians on by July, but we came up with the vaccination of just 4 crore people. So in this context, if you see ICMR National Institute of Virology and CSIR Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, they are co-owned by ICMR itself. So it is very easy for government mainly to increase production of these vaccines. But now question arises, why there is scarcity of these vaccines that is seen, even though so and so organization or so and so manufacturing company which is under hands of government. And next one is, there are number of questions mainly asked regarding details of research collaboration with Bharat Biotech and also investment of public funds in Covaxin. Okay, so here government mainly says that whenever they want to provide information regarding this, so there is invasion of privacy. So because of this, we are not providing any information. So in this way, the information which is not provided for people, so because of this, there is no transparency in process which is followed by government now. Okay, so conclusion mainly says that we need effective planning and as well as administration. So effective administration as well as effective planning, that cannot be done in a dark hole. Okay, so there is a need of sharing of information with people. and official secrecy is undermining capacity of scientists and as well as public health and policy experts to provide timely feedback and as well as suggestions to government here. So in this context, what can be done? So first one is Supreme Court should order government to take summary disclosure of information which is related to this COVID-19 policies in line with Section 4 and Section 7 of RTI Act. So this Section 4 and Section 7 of RTI Act mainly deals with proactive and urgent disclosures with consequences for life and as well as liberty. So this is just of this topic. I hope it is clear. Now let us say next topic. So before saying next topic, I want to make a small announcement. If you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial and also highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. How this course will be useful to clear UPSC 2022. So one thing you need to remember here is before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. And why you need to focus on this mains answer writing practice. Many students who are especially freshers or beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. So because of this, even with their hard work, if they clear prelims, they cannot clear mains without proper answer writing skills. And in this course, we are mainly focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday and we also provide you video explanation part. So in this way, this course which is mainly designed as per demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing, please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. And for further details, link which is given in description box, so please visit that once. And if you want to talk to me directly regarding this course, you can call to this number 8074765513. Okay, and now let's come back and let us see next article. Title says breaking the cycle of child labor is in India's hand. So this article mainly talking about one important and favorite topic of UPSC, that is child labor. So this article mainly talking about why child labor which is seen in India, and also there is some data which is given in this article to substantiate its arguments, and as well as it is saying about way forward. So this topic, it is very important from mains point of view, which comes under GS paper to under society. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, there is increase in child labor. Child, they are unable to attend schools and as well as parents are unable to find work in this lockdown periods. So if you are talking about reasons for this child labor, it is not existed after this COVID-19. But even before this COVID-19, there is pre-existing of child labor that is seen in India. So if you are talking about some data, so in 21st century, there are about 152 million children around world, they are still in child labor now. And out of this 152 millions, so 73 million children, they are working in hazardous work. And even Government of India survey mainly says that 95% of children belonging to 16 to 13 years, they are attending education institutions. Okay, but recent census of 2021 mainly says that 10.1 million working children are present in India from 5 to 14 years of age. Out of this 10.1 million, 8.1 million, they are belonging to rural areas, and 26% of children out of this 8.1 million, they are working in cultivation, and about 39.29% they are working as agricultural laborers. And next data by UNESCO estimates, it mainly said that 2011 census records 38.1 million children, they are out of school. And if you see, because whenever children are out of school, they will face some negative consequences. They include long-term devastating consequences, for example, loss of education. There is lack of skills, right? So because of this, the future possibility to overcome vicious cycle of poverty, that will be not overcome because of incomplete education, and there is no proper lack and there is no proper skills to get good job. And there is another study by Rapid Survey on Education, which is mainly by combination or collaborated by Ministry of Women and Child Development and as well as UNICEF. they both came up with this rapid survey of education of children. So it mainly says that less than half of children in age group of 10 to 14 years, they have completed their primary education. They have not completed their primary education. Okay, so here it is not. And next one is, if you're talking about child labor in India, so we can say there is a good news, like there is decreased child labor in India in the decade, okay, from 2001 to 2011, we are seeing there is a decreased trend of child labor. So we can say because of this data, we can say it mainly demonstrate a role of government played. So whatever programs and whatever policies which are came up by government, that is having some effect on decreasing of child labor in India. So if you're talking about some policy measures, government came up with this program, that is MG Narega. So it will provide some 100 days of employment for people, especially in rural areas, so that parents they can go for in search of work. And next one is, there is RTE Act of 2009. So because of this RTE Act also, the children they are going to schools but not for works. And here government came with a National Child Labor Project, and also government came with midday meal scheme. So because of this, parents mainly think that if the children are sent to school, they will get at least food. So for this also, parents are sending their children to schools. And they also, government also came up with the ratification of International Labour Organization Conventions of 138 and 182 in 2017. And even Ministry of Labour and Employment came up with online portal, that is Pencil. So this Pencil allows government officials, non-governmental organizations, and as well as law enforcement agencies to share information and to coordinate on child labor cases at national level and state level, and also even at local levels. And it will be very much helpful for effective enforcement of child labor laws in India. And because of this Pencil portal, that led to reduction of child labor that is seen in India. And now we are in COVID-19 situation. So in this situation, there are many problems we are facing. There is rising unemployment, subsequent lockdowns, economic activities are shut down, right? So because of this, we are facing this elimination of child labor. It is one of important challenge we are facing now. So what might be causes for increasing child labor in this situation? Because of increasing income insecurity that increased, and as well as there is lack of social protection for people who are working in informal sectors, and there is reduced household income, and children they are from poor households, they are mainly pushed to contribute for family income. So because of this, there is increase in risk of child labor in India. So if you are talking about education here, so now because of this COVID-19 lockdowns, the shutdown of schools that is seen from last 1.5 years. So now many institutions they went from offline to online learning. But in online teaching, there are some many challenges we are facing. For example, there is distance learning, there is increase in dropouts, and there is digital divide. So if you are talking about digital divide, so recently one report released, that is household social consumption on education in India. So this mainly says that only 24% of Indian households they are having access to internet facility. And next one is Acer report of 2020 mainly says that 1/3 of total enrolled children who received some kind of learning materials from their teacher, but what is the thing which is mainly left with 2/3 of children. So they are facing many challenges. So in this context, what is need? So first one is, we need a strong alliance. We need to fight for ending of this child labor by 2025, and we agreed in our sustainable development goal of 8.7 regarding ending of child labor. And next thing is, government, employers, and as well as unions, civil society organizations, and individuals, they must pledge to take action against this child labor as a part of United Nations Declaration of 2021. Finally, we need to eliminate this child labor. Okay, so this is just of this topic. I hope it is clear. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.